Janine unfortunately can't be with us this week, but we've got Juan, one of our members of our P&T team, who volunteered to jump in and help us work through this week's topic. This week's topic is going to be the Bitcoin halvings. You might have heard a little bit about this in the news recently, and we're just going to talk about what it is, when it's happening, and how it might affect you. Before we do that, we might do a little bit of a meet and greet with Juan. So, Kara, can we make a start by telling us a bit about yourself, and how'd you get started with Easy Crypto?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you for having me, Patrick. My name is Juan. I'm from Argentina. Um, I have a background of software engineering, and I got into crypto. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013, and I was very, very afraid because it was through a page called Local Bitcoins, and it's not exist anymore, and you have to buy like peer-to-peer. It was different times. But then I just left it there, and in 2017, when the bull market started again, then I started to look into crypto and research a little bit more. So I got really, really interested in the technical aspects of Bitcoin. So that's how I kind of got into crypto. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. No, that's a really interesting story, and it sounds like you probably timed it really well, buying in 2013, selling in 2017. Really doing it. Can I go out on a limb and say that Bitcoin maybe might still be your favorite coin, or there's some other like different networks and different things you're kind of keeping an eye on these days?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin is always has a place in my heart, but also Ethereum. I think I'm really involved in what's going on the Ethereum ecosystem, mainly because I feel like coming from like an engineering background, there's a lot of things going on there, like a lot of building different stuff, and everything is really, really interesting. So I think Ethereum, I feel a bit more closer from to Ethereum than Bitcoin.
Awesome. No, awesome, awesome. I guess one of the probably the key differences between the two, and this is my attempt at a segue, so bear with me. One of the key differences between the two is Bitcoin goes through this thing called the halving, where Ethereum doesn't really. So I guess my question to you is, what is the Bitcoin halving?
Yeah, so the Bitcoin halving is an event that happens roughly every 4 years, or in terms of the blockchain, because there's no time in blockchain, it's every certain amount of blocks. I think it's 210,000 blocks.
Yep.
You get a halving event, and this is the way the network has to actually administrate the supply of the coin. So it basically reduces to the half the amount of coins that they are produced every block. So every block there's certain amounts of coins that they go to the miner that mines this block. Every 4 years they reduce that amount, and I think it started on 50 Bitcoin per block when started the blockchain network in 2009, and then 4 years after, I think 2012, it was 25, then 12.5, 6.25. I think it's where we are at now.
Yeah, yeah. So that's these halvings are they're definitely something that's happened previously. We're actually kind of moving into the process where one's going to actually happen again. So that's kind of why it's in the news a little bit. So yeah, four of these have happened so far over the history of Bitcoin, and they're going to keep happening up until 2140, I believe, is when the last kind of halving will ever occur. So yeah, first one, 3rd of January 2009. This is block zero. This is the start of it all, the space we love, and the block reward was set at 50. Some people consider this a halving, some people consider this like Bitcoin's creation date. It's a bit up in the air. Opinions vary. I'm not going to touch that subject. I'm not brave enough. Next one happened actually closer to 3 years later because there was, as block power increased and stuff, the network was really volatile at this time. Again, block numbers, 210,000 blocks have been mined. November 28, 2012. The second one happened, the Bitcoin reward per block. So in addition to the fees that the miners get from the transactions, the amount of new Bitcoin produced dropped from 50 to 25. Bitcoin about this time was $12. Would have been a great time to buy if only I could tell my future previous self that. Um, pretty much 4 years later on the dot. So July 9th, 2016, block number 420,000. I'm sure people appreciate that block number. It happened again. Bitcoin was actually sitting about 663, I think it was. These are all US dollars, by the way. And it dropped down to 12 and a half Bitcoin per block that was mined. Last one happened May 11th, 2020, and that was block number 630,000. The block reward dropped to what it currently is now, which is 6.5 Bitcoins. At the time, that was about 9,000. I think it was 8,740-ish US dollars thereabouts per Bitcoin. And as you can tell, that was about 3 years ago. And based upon what Juan just said, that happened every 4 years. So we're leading into this hopefully exciting period in crypto. We don't know exactly when it will happen because it's how long will it take to mine the remaining blocks. But it's looking like it's going to be April or May 2024. And that's when the block reward is going to fall to 3.125 Bitcoin per block. That's kind of been a bit of a history lesson on what is going to happen in the near future. But Juan, why is this important? Why are people talking about the Bitcoin halving? How does that kind of affect our space?
Yeah, I think if you look in the past, the having an event was kind of a leading indicator of the bull market cycle, if you will. I'm not a financial advisor, but for what we can see from the past is that, it's like basic economic theory. If the supply is reduced, the demand, maybe it will go up, and also the price, it will go up as well. I'm not sure about the markets, how they work, but the basic idea is that there will be less and less Bitcoins available, so it will be probably more valuable. And that's what we saw in previous halving events. If you kind of arrange them with the market cycles, they are very similar. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think this Bitcoin rainbow chart is, I think, kind of what you were touching on, and it's a really, really famous chart in the Bitcoin space. It's essentially logarithmically tracks the price to time, essentially, and it shows that these Bitcoin halvings kind of actually strongly relate to this like price cycle that we see in Bitcoin. And yeah, to reiterate that disclaimer, this is not financial advice. Past performance is not a credible indicator of future performance. This is purely talking about what has previously happened. And some people, they may or may not be able to speculate about what this means for the future. But as we can kind of see from this chart on the screen here, the halvings kind of happened around like the low point in the market previously. They kind of set the new standard, the new baseline almost, that everyone kind of was like operating from, that the tokenomics were kind of coming from. As previously mentioned, yeah, price is a product of supply and demand. If demand remains constant and the supply changes or decreases, then the price rises. If the demand increases but the supply remains constant, price will rise, and the inverse is true for both of them. What people speculate kind of happens is, okay, well, if the demand remains constant and then the price then the supply falls, e.g., the amounts of new Bitcoin produced, then that might actually lead to an increase in price. Again, this is all speculation, this is all theory, but this is just a really interesting topic that a lot of people are discussing. And why they're discussing it is because theoretically, we're actually in the cheapest and the bottom kind of part of the market right now. They think that things probably aren't going to get too much lower, but again, we don't know. So people are just speculating. It's a really, really interesting time to be in the market, but I think we say that pretty much every week, don't we? Did you have any other kind of thoughts or kind of comments about what you think this might actually lead to?
No, I think you explained it really, really well. I think regarding that rainbow chart, we also can have a look at the program inflation of Bitcoin, if you will. And this is a really nice chart, I think, to understand how that total supply of 21 million is going to be released over time. And this is all in the Bitcoin code. There's no one deciding, oh, let's do this now, let's do this afterwards. This everything is a computer code that is running in many computers around the world, so no one can actually stop it. And on the y-axis on the left, you can see the supply of Bitcoins that go from 0 to 21 million. And then you can see the number of blocks on the x-axis. And the orange line is actually those, you can see those halving events, right? So every time the halving event happens, it will sort of divide by half the amount of coins that are produced in a block. And that blue line is the supply, the supply of the Bitcoins, right, over time. So at the beginning of the chart started on 0 and then go to 3, 6 millions. And as the blocks progress in the x-axis, the amount of Bitcoins produced, they are less and less. And you can see how at the top of the chart, it's like very flat, because it will be very small amounts of Bitcoins when we are reaching to that 21 millions.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it, right? So essentially, we're approaching a limit. The effective inflation rate, such as the monetary kind of rate that's set by this, isn't what a bunch of economists say what's happening in the economy, as much as it pains me to say, as I am an economist, but it's actually set in the Bitcoin code. So we know that this is going to happen. It's a predictable event, unless Bitcoin changes, which is probably not. This is very much likely to happen. That kind of wraps us up for this week. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. Again, as always, let us know if you've got any comments, suggestions, anything you'd like to see us talk about. And I'd just like to finish up by saying a massive thanks to Juan for jumping in and joining us on this week's episode of the CEO and the Lobster. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.